Welcome to the National Archives and the William G. McGowan Theater. It's a particularly special pleasure to be partnering with the DeWitt Wallace Center for Media and Democracy at Duke University, where I had the pleasure of spending 8 years as university librarian. To create a little magic here on Pennsylvania Avenue, Media Access to Government Information Conference right here on Pennsylvania Avenue, the DeWitt Wallace Center shares many of our concerns about the importance of access by everyone to the records that are the bedrock of our robust democracy. Today, we've brought together government officials, reporters, scholars, and non-government organization leaders. They're here to help you as journalists learn more about gaining access to and using government records, and they'll discuss how changing technologies are changing the ways you can access that information. But first, let me tell you about some things the National Archives is doing to improve access to records we hold and to help you obtain records at other federal departments and agencies. I know that for many of you, the Freedom of Information Act is an important tool in gaining access to records that agencies might be reluctant to release. It works, but it can take a long time, and now we can offer some help. Congress created the Office of Government Information Services, OGIS, within NARA in 2009. Its focus is to expedite the FOIA process and avoid lengthy administrative delays in getting the information you want. Since its creation, it has made substantial progress with FOIA requests in hundreds of cases that were quickly resolved informally. In its first full year of operation, OGIS handled 391 cases, most of which did not rise to the level of dispute. Of the 83 cases that did involve disputes between requesters and agencies, OGIS resolved more than 4 out of 5. Among its success cases, a reporter seeking Treasury Department records about the Troubled Asset Relief Program, a reporter investigating the murder of an NFL player through the records of the Department of Homeland Security, and requests for databases from several agencies concerning travel by government employees. Now we're working to get agencies and departments to post information released under FOIA to their websites, and we're also urging them to anticipate your interests in particular records and post them as well, so you won't have to resort to FOIA. Some of the records you would like to examine are classified, and NARA is working with agencies to make sure that only information that requires protection is classified. And taking it a bit further, we try to ensure that information is classified only for as long as it's necessary. We do this through our Information Security Oversight Office, ISOO. This office oversees the classification and declassification programs of government agencies. The idea, of course, is to ensure public access where appropriate while safeguarding classified national security information. One of the things ISOO is working on now is the inconsistency of classification standards within the federal government. There are 2,475 different classification guides within the federal government. Some of them are for entire agencies, some for a specific weapons system or program, and others for a component of a system or program. We're trying to reduce the number of guides and increase consistency. And one of the ways ISOO does this is to make sure these guides are reviewed and updated at least every 5 years. We've had some success on this front in the past few years. In 2008, only a third of the classification guides used by agencies had been updated within the previous 5 years. 2 years later, 3/4 have been updated within the previous 5 years. Yes, there's a backlog of more than 400 million pages of classified material at our College Park facility that must be reviewed by December 31st, 2013. In most cases, the records will be declassified and placed on our open shelves. These records are of great interest as they pertain to World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and military intelligence. One of the center's first jobs was to establish efficient business processes for declassification and the tracking of records, and that's been done. Many of the documents contain classified information from more than one agency, so all agencies involved must sign off on it. So to speed up this process, we've brought representatives of those agencies to our College Park facility, so these decisions can be made there on the spot, cutting down the time it takes to get the records to you. But even after a document has passed through all of its classification reviews, it still must be processed archivally. They must be organized and arranged into series and put in order to make them easier for researchers to use. In some cases, NARA archivists will create finding aids for the documents. So far, the news is good. Of the more than 400 million pages, 84 million have passed the quality review process, the crucial first stage of the review process. And of the 14.5 million pages that have been fully reviewed, 91% were declassified and put on open access to researchers. And late last year, we launched our online public access system, which is a public portal for searching all the resources of the National Archives. All of these efforts have one goal in common: increasing your access to the holdings of the archives and to federal records throughout the government. Technological breakthroughs and the increasing use of social media are providing many new opportunities for us to provide access to records for you. So again, welcome to the National Archives, and we hope to send you home tonight with some useful information on how to better access federal records and enjoy the program and our time with us. Now I'd like to introduce Sanford Ungar, the president of Goucher College in Baltimore and a member of the U.S. Public Information Declassification Board, and himself a former journalist and author. Before assuming his position at Goucher, he was director of the Voice of America for 2 years. From 1986 to 1999, he was dean of the School of Communication at American University. He served as host of All Things Considered for NPR in the early 1980s, and career highlights include Washington editor for The Atlantic, managing editor of Foreign Policy magazine, and a staff writer for The Washington Post. He was a correspondent for UPI in Paris and for Newsweek in Nairobi, and has contributed to The Economist and the New York Times magazine. His work on the PIBD is very important in your deliberations this morning, because that group made a series of recommendations to the president, 49 recommendations, one of which included the creation of the National Declassification Center. And they're now currently working on my biggest problem, streamlining the classification and declassification process. Ladies and gentlemen, Sandy Ungar.
Thank you, David, and good morning, everyone. I am pleased to be here really to underline the importance of what the archivist has already told you. I'm here in my capacity as a member of the Public Interest Declassification Board. I am not its chair, but I think I was asked to be here because of my many years and work in journalism and dealing with some of these same issues that many of the people here today are dealing with and others deal with all the time. I think the problem of transparency is one of the greatest issues facing our democracy at the moment, and what is at stake is nothing less than our own history and our ability to capture it, record it, pass it along to future generations, and understand it better. The complexity and the enormity of the problem from our point of view on the PIDB is really awesome to confront and try to understand and deal with. I recognize that the archivist has a perspective, and as a result of his long years of service as a librarian at the New York Public Library, heading a very complex institution. And we're very pleased that he is here in this job, because I think his life has been one of promoting openness and supporting the principles of transparency. So we all regarded it as an extremely good sign when he was appointed to this job. In a word, the pipeline is bursting. There are, as the archivist said, there's a backlog of more than 400 million pages of documents to be reviewed, dating back mostly to the mid and late. I think I've had it described to me as essentially from the 40s through the 70s, the pipeline. That's the 1940s and 1970s. And there are some documents that go back as far as the First World War as well that are part of that backlog. It's understandable how this happened and how the backlog built up. What's particularly troubling is that the pipeline is getting packed more and more. One agency alone, as we've said on one of our blogs for the PIDB, one agency alone creates a new petabyte of classified information every 18 months. And the pace of the creation of new classified information is going to outpace human efforts, certainly. And so just let me pause for a second to explain that the Public Interest Declassification Board, which was created through the inspiration of the late Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who felt that the issue of government secrecy was a very big one and an important one. The PIDB has only been in operation really for a few years. It has no authority to tell anyone to do anything, but it does have an advisory role to the president. We think the president knows that it exists, at least, and certainly people working with him seem to read what we send and occasionally even act on them. What we are trying to do, as David Ferriera said, is to find ways to simplify and rationalize the classification and declassification system. Something has to be done. Indicting those who leak information will not solve the problem. So we are very much involved right now with trying to design and propose electronic methods of dealing with classification, declassification. You can imagine the complexity of this, the potential resistance to it in certain agencies, which I find quite understandable. But through some process of context accumulation, we believe that it should be possible over a relatively short period of time to change the system radically and dramatically. Context accumulation is a term that scares some people. It's really what the human brain does all the time. Each day we know more than we did the day before as a result of our experiences and our exposure. And so what we need to attempt to create is the system that will incorporate knowledge with some human guidance and relieve all the people, well, not relieve them completely, but help the people who are in charge of classifying and declassifying to make rational decisions on the basis of giving guidance to the system. It's still in our early years of early, I hope not years, early months of development, but we hope that we'll be able to convince people to pay attention to this new set of ideas. There are I noticed some of the excerpts from our blog, our PIDB blog, are out on the table outside. There's a particular one that I had the privilege of signing about the whole notion of a context accumulation system, and I hope that people will consider it. I don't doubt the sincerity and certainly the patriotism, the good intentions of people who are involved in both the classification and declassification systems as they exist now. But the problem is outpacing their goodwill and their capacity to deal with this issue in a meaningful way and promote the transparency that is essential to the health of our democracy. So we hope that along the way we'll be able to make a small contribution to solving this problem in a long-term way. I look forward to eavesdropping on the conversations today, and I wish this group success. And thanks to Duke University and to the archives for demonstrating their commitment to these issues. Thank you.